welcome in to Extreme Talk, presented by Complete Real Estate, where experience and integrity matter. Thank you so much for tuning in. Super happy and excited to have you guys joining me today. Man, we had some good football this past weekend. We're going to dive into all of it. We're going to talk about it. Got a great interview coming up today with Coach Jared Adams from Cornerstone Christian Academy, better known to everyone as Cornerstone Christian Rainsville. We'll talk to him about his team and the season and what's going on, but let's dive right into talking about what happened this past weekend and the recaps. You know what? Let's change things up a little bit. Let's start in the state of Virginia. And had a couple games going on up there. A couple good ones. On Thursday, had 3 days of games up there. On Thursday, you had Richmond Christian. They were at, I know I'm going to butcher this. Fuqua. Somewhere in there. But Richmond Christian got the 38-25 win over Fuqua. On Friday, Brunswick Academy was at Blessed Sacrament Huguenot. I'm going to guess that's how you say that. Brunswick with a 62-0 win in that one. Christ Church School at Rappahannock County. And Christ Church School gets the 50-7 win. They stay unbeaten. Brunswick Academy, by the way, 8-0 on the year. Just tearing through their season so far. And then Virginia Episcopal School on the road, 5-0 at Greenbrier Christian. And Virginia Episcopal School with the 34-7 win. On Saturday, Covenant was at, again, another one. I might butcher this. I apologize. Chincoteague. And Covenant with a 41-12 win over, I believe it's the Ponies. Let me double check this because what's their mascot? They are the Ponies. So there you go. Maybe we'll just say Ponies football from now on, somewhere in there. We'll figure out what we're going to do. But big win for Covenant there. Massanutten Military Academy hosted Quantico, and Massanutten with a 50-36 win rather. And then the last game on Saturday was Broadwater Academy hosting Kinston Forest. Kinston Forest unbeaten coming into the game. And the Vikings from Broadwater, big win over Kinston Forest Cavaliers, 48-18. Kinston Forest previously unbeaten at 5-0, so big win there for the Vikings. Now Kinston Forest went down swinging. As I look over the stats, a couple guys jumping out. Devin Dunn, over 100 yards passing. He did throw 3 interceptions. Zane Queen, 20 carries, 103 yards. And, they put up an effort. But Broadwater Academy, big win for them. So congratulations to them. Let's scoot on down to the state of North Carolina, just below them, and look at the games that happened out there. Again, another situation, games on 3 straight days. On Thursday, Father Capodanno hosted Lee Christian, came away with a 40-0 win. On Friday, Wayne Christian hosted Faith Christian and got a 50-14 win. Wayne Christian now 7-1 on the season. Arundel Parrott Academy, they were on the road at JP2. These two teams played for their conference championship last year, and you know this was going to be a good game. You knew this was going to be a good matchup. And Arundel Parrott, the Patriots, come away with the 42-35 win. Pretty close game throughout, obviously with the 7-point final score. JP2 actually went up in the first quarter, and they were up at halftime, 21-16. But a 26-point fourth quarter by the Patriots helped them come storming back to get a big win. Run through some of these stats real quick. Jalen Solomon, junior running back for the Patriots. 37 carries, 283 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Just insane effort from that young man. And then as I slide on down to the defense, you had Cade Mixon, the junior, leading the team with 19 tackles, 7 of them being solo. Mason McKelvey, 14 tackles of his own, 7 of those were solo. And Jeremy Snipes with 13 tackles, 3 solo. They led the team in tackles. You had Luke Stocks with a fumble recovery, Cade Mixon with a blocked field goal. And so the Patriots get a huge win and move to 5-2. JP2 now at 4-3. Another game that happened on Friday in North Carolina, Pungo Christian on the road at Northeast Academy, and it's the Raiders getting the win over the Eagles, 24-12. Tie ball game. Pungo had the lead at the end of the first quarter. Tie ball game at halftime. No scoring in the third quarter, and then 2 touchdowns in the fourth. And Pungo able to grab the win. They moved to 4-2 on the season. Yesterday, there was a game in North Carolina, and we do not have a score. No score. So it was Bethel Christian Academy hosting Lawrence Academy. Not sure how that game went. Hopefully somebody can let us know how that game went. Let's jump over to the state of Kansas. Let's go to the Kansas Christian Athletic Association. KC East on the road at Veritas Christian, who's struggling this year. KC East coming in at 500. They get the 62-16 win. Sunrise Christian, only 1 loss. That's to Destiny. They were hosting the Cornerstone Family Saints, and the Buffaloes with a 53-6 win over the Saints. Wichita Warriors hosting Life Prep, the Life Prep Fire, and great game. Wichita Warriors come away with a 28-24 win, and just looking at the box score here, Warriors had the lead after the first quarter, 8-0. At halftime, it's 14-8. At the end of the third quarter, it's 20-16, and then a touchdown for both teams in the fourth quarter. I'm guessing Wichita probably able to make a couple stops there in the fourth quarter. And so they come away with a 28-24 win. Looks like it was a great game there in the state of Kansas. Let's switch over to maybe a little bit of Kansas, a little bit of Arkansas, a little bit of Oklahoma. Let's look at the games that happened on Friday. Claremore Christian on the road at Crossover Prep, and Crossover Prep gets the 36-20 win. Big rivalry game in Little Rock, Arkansas. Abundant Life at 5-1 going up against Southwest Christian. And the Owls come away with the win 20-6. I believe I saw that Abundant Life put up their three touchdowns in the first half and then had to hold on to the second half as the Lions got a touchdown in the second half and were unable to score any more. So 20-6 final score there. Big win for the Owls. And then Cross Christian hosted Life Christian. And Cross Christian at 4-0 according to Max Preps. They end up getting the win 60-12. And then yesterday, Northland Christian, they're in Missouri, supposed to host Cornerstone Spartans. That game ended up not being played due to a forfeit from the Spartans, and so Northland Christian gets credited with the win. Destiny Christian at 6-1. They're on the Trinity Christian in Texarkana. Destiny Christian gets the win in that one. So Destiny, I mentioned, at 6-1. Their only loss coming early in the season to Velma Alma, a public school there in Oklahoma. So in conference play, they are completely unbeaten. So big win for Destiny there. Let's jump back over to South Carolina. Let's run through some of those games that took place. Orangeburg Christian Academy at the Coastal Hurricanes. We have no score for that game that was played on Friday. So 2 days later, no score. But we do have a score for a couple other games. New Hope Leadership Academy, 34-6 win over Harvest Christian. And great game for New Hope to move to 4-2-1 is what it says on the season. Not sure why it has the tie for Harvest. Just a tough game for them going up against the Gladiators. So, big win for New Hope. A matchup a lot of people were looking at. The Augusta Eagles, unbeaten, coming in at 6-0. Pack Panthers, unbeaten. One loss, but unbeaten in conference play at 8-0. 7-0, because they got the win over Tri-Cities Christian. And it was Pack Panthers all over the Eagles, 62-14. Run through some of these stats real quick. Cam Humans, 10 carries, 109 yards, and a touchdown. Jance Lamb, 5 of 8, 88 yards, 2 touchdowns. He didn't have to do a whole lot on the night. And then in terms of defense, team leader was Ethan Lehman, 18 tackles, 6 solo. Also had 11 tackles for loss, so incredible performance there. 17 tackles for Cam Humans, 14 for Alan Thomas, and I think those are your top 3 there. You also had 3 tackles for loss from Humans, Burns, McNulty. I think that's it. And then I mentioned the 11 for Lehman. And then sacks, Ethan Lehman, 4.5 sacks. You'll hear it in my voice. I'm pretty much back. Just a little bit of nagging stuff, but we'll power through. 4.5 sacks for Ethan Lehman, and then a couple pass defenses. Fumble recovery for Jance Lamb and Alexander Isam. And then a forced fumble from McNulty and Shealy. So big win for the Pack Panthers. Moved to 8-1 on the season. And it doesn't look like anybody in that conference is going to stop them from winning the title. It really does not. I mean, at this point, I'm just going to put my 2 cents in. At this point, I understand you want to play a postseason, but you don't have to extend it, okay? Just do a 4-team playoff. Let's knock this out. Let's play the championship the first Saturday of November. And if I'm the Pack Panthers, let's go to Florida. Let's go. I mean, what are we doing here? Right? I'm gonna pull up. Let's see, where's it at? I'm gonna pull up the standings real quick for the SIFA. And again, just my opinion, doesn't mean it's right. I'm just talking out loud, all right? Pack Panthers are 8-1. The one loss coming to the Lighthouse in the Gatlinburg, the Black Bear Brawl. 384 points for. 62 points against. Not even 100 points scored against them. And they've put up 384 points. They're averaging, hang on, let's do this math. 384 divided by 9. They're averaging 43 points a game. It's wild. It's wild to me. They're 4-0 in conference play. They still have one more conference game to go. And they're not going to lose it because they have 2 teams in conference play that are 0-3. Harvest Christian is 2-2. Augusta and Coastal are 2-1. I mean, come on. You got to go to Florida. If you're the Pack Panthers, you got to go. You had a great showing in Gatlinburg. You know? So we'll see what happens there. I would love to see them down there in the national championship tournament. Moving right along, keeping it moving. Let's jump. I know I'm jumping all over the place. Let's jump up to Ohio. A lot of people say, "What are you talking about, Ohio?" There's some good 8-man football in Ohio. Don't get it twisted. McKinley, 44-24 win over Stryker. St. Mary's Central Catholic, 48-22 win over Dansbury. And then the big game that everyone had circled, Toledo Christian and Holgate. And this was a big one. If I'm not mistaken, let me back up to last year real quick. I think these two played for the title. Toledo was 9-2. Yep, they played for the title. Toledo was 9-2. They lost the game to a team from Michigan, and then they came in on a tear, an absolute tear. Holgate came in at 8-3. They had lost to the Tri-State Crusaders or Fort Wayne King Crusaders, whichever one. Toledo had beat them earlier in the year, and then they lost to a team from Michigan as well. So they roll into this championship game, and they got a score to settle. And Toledo was looking good. And then Holgate pulls off the win. Let me get the score real quick. I don't think it was close. It was 34-27. So 34-27, Holgate wins. So this is the rematch of the championship game from last year. Holgate is unbeaten at 6-0, and Toledo Christian so far this year has taken 2 losses, one to Concord from Michigan and then North Point Christian from Michigan. So 2 Michigan losses for Toledo Christian. So nothing, not conference losses. They're still doing fine. Toledo Christian got the upset win, 20-14 over Holgate. And I'm going to run through these stats. There's a couple stats on here. Let's see. I don't think they're all on here, though, because these are very, very minimal stats. Jacob Michalski, 22 carries, 91 yards, and a touchdown. Let's see. Drew Lackmiller with 7 tackles, 5 of those being solo. And then Lackmiller also had an interception. But a big, big win for Toledo Christian there in the state of Ohio. Real quick, let's run through. Let's go to Tennessee, but not for TSIAA or SEEC. Tennessee School for the Deaf on the road in Spartanburg, South Carolina, take on South Carolina School for the Deaf. And the Vikings, 34-0 win over the Hornets. Vikings are 4-0 in conference play. 4-1 overall, had lost to South Haven Christian. But 4-0 in conference play. Alabama is 2-0 in conference play. Mississippi 2-2. Louisiana 0-2. And South Carolina 0-4. So Alabama, depending on how they play the rest of their season. Now, this conference has never had a championship game. Just because of distance. Now, Alabama did lose yesterday, 40-20 to Florida School for the Deaf. They got a pretty cool game coming up. Alabama School for the Deaf in 2 weeks. They are going to fly to Fremont, California to take on California School for the Deaf. That's a cool game. They're 5-1, by the way, out in California. They're 1 loss coming to California School for the Deaf. Riverside, who won championship game a couple years ago, is all over the news. But, and then Alabama and Tennessee will play later on, the last game of the year for both teams. So that could be a big one. That could determine a lot. Let's go over to Georgia. Man, time has flown. I have really, really drug through this real quick. All right, let's get through this. Let's go to the GIAA, formerly the GISA. Let's go to Thursday. Thursday, Westwood hosting Dominion Christian. 26-20 win for Westwood. David Emanuel Academy on the road at Covenant Academy. And David Emanuel, 42-0 win over the Rams. Westminster is the Battle of Westminster. Westminster Schools of Augusta versus Westminster Christian. And Westminster Schools of Augusta, 6-1. They get the win. And a big one for them. Windsor Academy, they were actually hosting Springwood School out of the AISA, out of Alabama. And Springwood, I'll talk about this a little bit more whenever I get to the AISA. Springwood with a 22-20 win over Windsor Academy. I'll break that down a little bit more here in a few moments. But that was the action in the GIAA. Let's jump over to GAPPS, the GAPS. And Sherwood Christian on the road at Young Americans, 40-8. Central Christian on the road at New Creation Christian. and Central Christian with a 49-6 win. Trinity Christian School of Griffin hosting Fidelis Christian 60-6. They got the win. Covington Academy, People's Baptist, they played. No score. So, yeah. Peachtree Academy on the road at Community Christian. Peachtree gets the 14-6 win. Horizon Christian, they are at Hearts Academy. And they got the Warriors get the 57-6 win over the Panthers, and they just poured it on. Horizon Christian did. And so really, really having a great season are the Warriors, so congratulations to them. Johnson's Ferry Christian on the road at Unity Christian. This is a big, according to Max Prips, it's labeled as the 2023 Regional Championship. So a lot at stake here. Lions get the win over the Saints, 54-40. Tie game at the end of the first quarter, 6-all. Unity took a 26-20 lead into the half. Came out, outscored them 20-12 in the third quarter. Touchdown for both in the fourth. And Unity gets the win. Johnson's Ferry has put stats up. Lucas Sheffer, 17 of 40, 330. So congratulations to Unity Christian. Big win for them. They win their region championship. And there we go. All right. Let's see. Make sure that's it. Praise Academy hosted Cross Point Christian. Got a 48-0 win there. Let's jump to Tennessee. Let's start in the SEC. Tennessee Heat take it hosting Zion for homecoming. Zion coming in with 11 players. Struggling Tennessee Heat. They've got struggles of their own, but the Heat did not struggle Friday night. 62-6. Tennessee Heat with the win over Zion Christian. Big win for them. Let's jump to, let's talk about Lighthouse Homeschool hosting the Freedom Cowboys. We'll break that down whenever we get to the ACSC. Tri-Cities Christian Franklin Classical squaring off in Blountville. And game being played for a playoff spot, number 2 seed in the SEC North. And Tri-Cities Christian, last year the game came down to one score. Classical got the win. This year it came down to one score, and Tri-Cities got the win, 34-28. So Tri-Cities Christian School Eagles, Christian Academy Eagles, rather, are in the playoffs for the SEC. Their spot is locked, and so have to wait and see what happens in the South Division. A lot of games still to be played there. Let's jump to the TSI AA. Make sure I'm on the right one. Yep. Let's jump to the TSI AA. A couple big games happening there. Christian Community hosting South Haven Christian in the Battle of 76. A couple teams there in Robertson County, and the Colts handled the Patriots 58-14. Colts moved to 6-1 on the season. Grace Baptist on the road. They were in Robertson County as well. So 4 TSI AA teams in Robertson County. Grace, 35-0 win over the Innovation Academy Sentinels, who I believe that closed out their season, if I'm not mistaken. And so they will finish 0-6 for their first season, lost all 5 conference games, and then lost to Franklin Classical as well. I'll talk about Evangel FCA when I get to the ACSC. Let's jump to the AISA. Let's talk about that. A lot of games being played. I don't think there were any interconference games. I think they were all playing different teams. Southern Prep hosted the Carolina Wildcats, and the Fighting Rangers 40-14 win in that one. 12-6 first quarter for their Southern Prep. 24-6 was the score at halftime. They added a touchdown in the third and fourth quarters. Wildcats added a touchdown in the fourth quarter, so big win there for the Fighting Rangers. Southern Christian on the road at Evangel Christian, Montgomery. And big shout out to player for Evangel Christian getting that score in this morning. Score had not been posted so far, 2 days later after the game. Southern Christian gets the 46-42 win over the Lions. So Patriots over the Lions, ACSE get another win over the AISA. North River Christian hosted Russell Christian. Barn burner of a game. Chargers 36-30 win over the Warriors of Russell. AISA gets the win over CFA. Tuscaloosa Christian, they hosted Meadowview Christian and got a 74-30 win in that one. So again, Meadowview looking for that first win. Cornerstone Christian hosting Trinity Christian homeschool rather, and Chargers 56, Trinity Christian nothing. Talked about Springwood and Windsor Academy. Said I mention it. Springwood on the road in Georgia to take on. It wasn't the Devil. It was Springwood that went to Georgia, and the Wildcats come out with a win. They led 8-0 at the half, 14-6 at halftime. Windsor Academy comes out, puts up a 14-point third quarter. Springwood put up a touchdown in the third, and then no scoring in the fourth. Wildcats able to hang on and win by 2. Sounds like that was a great game there. Let's jump to the CFA real quick. We're going to get through these real quick. Wrong one. There we go. Tabernacle Christian taking on Victory Christian out of Mississippi. Tabernacle looking to get back in the win column, and they did. 62-36 over the Eagles Torches. Get their second win of the year. Aaron Peters, 12 of 14, 298, 6 touchdowns. Everybody, quite a few people carried the ball. Kyle Gillis, 5 catches, 135 yards, and 3 touchdowns on defense. You had Alex Tank, the junior, lead the team with 9 tackles, 2 tackles for loss. And Braden Odom had a forced fumble. So congratulations to Tabernacle getting the win, getting back in the win column, and keeping it moving. Congrats to them. Jacksonville Christian hosted Success Unlimited. They get the 66-28 win over the Mustangs. They stay unbeaten, 7-0. They're on a tear. And their championship lines up. They could go to Florida this year. You got to think maybe they'll go. You hope. All right, let's go to the ACSC really quick. I know we're coming down on time, but we're going to get through this really fast. Lighthouse Homeschool, I mentioned that they hosted the Freedom Cowboys. Warriors, 69-26 win over the Cowboys. It wasn't close. Lighthouse, 27-8 win at the end of the first quarter. They put up 4 touchdowns in the second, and at the half it was 55-20. 2 touchdowns in the third quarter for Lighthouse. Touchdown in the fourth for Freedom, and that's how we got where we were. Elliot Knowles, 13 of 15, 273, 6 touchdowns. Clay Boatman, 19 carries, 144 yards, and 3 touchdowns for him. Ben Hirsch, 5 catches, 133 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And Cullen White once again led the team in tackles with 10, 5 solo, 2 tackles for loss. Clay Boatman did have 9 total tackles, 2 tackles for loss, and a sack on the game. Cullen White also added an interception, so big game there. Ezekiel Academy, rivalry game, taking on East Central. Great close game. Ezekiel gets the 42-34 win over East Central. Big ACSC win for them. Brandon Davis, 18 carries, 236, and 3 touchdowns on the day. Avery Askew, 8 carries, 117 and a touchdown. And then Sam Blount led the team in tackles with 10, 7 solo, tackle for loss. Looks like Jacob Lawrence had 4 sacks on the day. I believe he had 2 sacks that ended the game and got the win for Ezekiel. Sam Blount also had 2 fumble recoveries, so big game for him. And then the game everyone was talking about. I'm going to talk about it after we do today's interview. And so I'm going to go ahead and get that lined up. Let's get it. Get it in position real quick. Here we go.
Hello.
Joining me now is the head coach of the Cornerstone Christian Academy Eagles out of Rainsville, Alabama. It's Coach Jared Adam. Coach, I appreciate you taking the time to join me.
Thanks for having me.
I'll jump right into it. First year coaching, and I don't want to play into the the what's the word? It's the rut that everyone, for lack of a better word, that everyone falls into. But your game this Friday, corner against Jacksonville Christian. They're 7-0. They're on a tear this season. Is it safe to say, without sounding, like everyone else, is it safe to say this is your biggest game of the season?
Yeah, I would agree with that. That's definitely going to be a very big game for us, and probably the biggest challenge we've got coming up so far.
Now, I wanted to back it up just a little bit. Of course, last year you guys missed out on the playoffs. Things don't quite go your way. Then you come into this season, a lot of hype, but a lot of teams in your conference. They lost their quarterbacks, a lot of senior quarterbacks graduating, a lot of senior players just overall graduating. So you guys come into the season ready to go. You start with a big, conference game. You're playing the defending champs, the 4 or 5 time defending champs. You guys go into this game. It's at home, and it doesn't quite go your way in a close one, in an overtime game. Coming out of that game, what are you and your coaches saying?
But now the guys, they kept their heads up, and we keep the end game in mind, and just keep our heads up and keep moving towards it each week. So that didn't really rain on our parade too much.
And that kind of plays into what I want to ask. After that, you guys, you host Freedom, you go on the road to Lighthouse. Again, 2 more games, didn't quite go your way. But with your guys having, knowing that, hey, especially in conference play, we're right there. We're one of the better teams in this conference. Going through those weeks of, the game's not going your way, what is something guys were trying to tell your guys, your players, in terms of, hey, keep your heads up, like you said, keep your heads up, and we all that matters is let's get to the conference portion of our schedule and handle business. Is that fair to say that was one of the things you're trying to tell your guys?
Right. So in regard to the Freedom and Lighthouse games, um, pretty early on in the season, I made it clear to those guys. It was like, hey, these games are going to be tough games for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like this is something you haven't been up against before, but we're trying to get to a certain point in our football program. And if you want to be the best, you got to go up against some of the best, right?
For
So
sure. Yeah,
so
yeah.
we knew that going in, and some of those games, they kind of got away from us towards the end. Of course, the Lighthouse game, I only had 10 players I was able to take that game due to concussion protocol and just stomach viruses. So
Oh,
I was
wow.
very short man through that game,
Wow.
missing three starters. But
Yeah.
we went through and came out with 0 injuries, so that was win enough for me.
Exactly, exactly. Well, yeah, and I wanted to mention that too because you look through the last couple of years. Of course, you guys with a little bit newer football program, a little bit younger program. Matter of fact, last year you guys played a 6-man game because your conference does host 6-man, and then you turn around the next season and you guys are playing. A team that has played for a national title 2 times. You're playing Lighthouse, who it has been a really good team for a couple years, has won their conference championship. So from the outside looking in, it looked like you guys were trying to step up your level of competition. And like you said, in order to get better, you have to play better. You have to play, tougher competition. And that's definitely obvious looking at your schedule, especially from this year. And it seems like you guys aren't slowing down any.
Oh no, sir, not at all. We definitely got the same goal in mind now that we had at the beginning. Know that everything's still at grasp, just like it was when the season started. So we're going to keep moving forward.
Now, you guys come off a bye week, but prior to that, you guys reel off 4 straight conference wins. And Tabernacle success, Tuscaloosa victory, all those games about a 20-point win, 30-point win somewhere in there. So not close. You guys are handling business, but it seems like from week to week, your guys are building confidence and not just knowing that hey, we played the best, we put forth our best effort, but now when the rubber meets the road and it comes to these conference games we're able to pick up a little momentum and build that confidence up. Is that fair to say?
Yes, yes, I would agree with that completely. And you know, kind of the mentality that I'm trying to get these guys to understand is week to week, we're not looking at our opponent and saying, "Hey, are we going to be better than our opponent?" The mentality I'm giving them is, or wanting them to have, is, let's be a better team than we were last week.
For sure.
Let's
Yeah.
let's beat last week's Cornerstone. So I think that's helped us a lot, because you get better each week with that mentality.
Your guys coming back from last year, I mentioned, in terms of postseason, it doesn't quite go your way. You guys don't get in. Your guys coming back from last year, how big of a chip was that on their shoulder to say, hey, you know what, we want to get in that postseason this year? Like I said, with you guys being a younger program and kind of building your football legacy, that had to be a huge motivator during the offseason for your guys and something that you guys as coaches can kind of beat you by 4. Tuscaloosa, it's a 16-0. Russell only beat you by 2 scores. Tabernacle only beat you by 10. So you guys were right there. That had to be a huge motivator during the offseason to say, hey, we're right there. Let's just get over this hump just a little bit.
Right. Um, the attitude and mentality of these players this year has been way better than it's been the past few years. I've asked a lot out of them and kind of challenge them every day, and they keep stepping up to the challenge. It's like I'm real with them. This was supposed to be a rebuilding year for Cornerstone.
For sure, yeah.
There wasn't a whole lot in expectations to come from us this year. So I'm extremely proud of the guys. They stepped up to the challenge, and they continue to do so. And we're just going to keep getting better from here. So, yeah, I'm really proud of them, and they got a good head on their shoulders.
I know it's your first season, but I want to ask you, going into a game like what you've got Friday night, Jacksonville Christian, unbeaten, all the stuff that goes around it. I'm not going to run through it. But for you and your staff going into a game like this, what is the biggest message you're giving to your guys about, hey, you talked about it. We're not going up against our opponent. We're going up against ourselves. But is that the message that you're going into Friday night with Jacksonville Christian?
Absolutely. Um, we just got to do our jobs right, and that's what they need to focus on. They don't need to focus on, what are we going up against as much as, am I going to do my job right? Am I going to execute it well? Am I going to minimize mistakes in games? That we got to focus on what we do and execute it well, and we'll see what happens.
Do you have a preference with that game being on the road? Would you rather it be at home, or are you okay with it being on the road, or do you have a preference either way? And then if you prefer for it to be away, what's the reasoning behind that?
Well, I mean, it definitely would be a lot better to have that as a home game. I feel like you get
Gotcha, gotcha.
that home field advantage, but
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think that the fact that it's away is not really going to stop what we're trying to do.
It almost seems to me like it would help. It would play in benefit of you guys because you could look at it as a business trip, and you don't have everything that goes around a home game to distract you guys. You lock in. It's a business trip for you guys. It seems like that would play in your favor a little bit.
Right. Well, I sure hope so.
I want to give you a chance to talk about some of your guys because you've got some ballers. As people would say, you got some dogs on your
Right.
team. I want to give you a chance to talk about some of those guys, including somebody that doesn't, people don't talk about a lot about your kicker. I want to give you a chance to talk about your kicker, but talk about some of your offensive guys and your defensive guys as well. Some of your leaders on your team.
Right. Well, um, we don't have everybody plays both ways for the most part. So my offensive line, defensive line, same guys, and I'm going to start with them because
Absolutely.
they've played a big part to our success this year. Without them, I'm not able to run the offense I like to run. We're not able to get stops on defense. So that's going to be Brody Barksdale's my right guard, Sam Johnson, he's my left guard. Zane Johnson's my center, and then Jake Nelson, that tight end. We release him out sometimes for passes, but all those guys have done an exceptional job blocking on the line, and they're doing an outstanding job as far as doing their jobs. Um, Quarterback wise, we got Colby Harrison. He's a good quarterback for us. He's very good with faking handoffs and stuff like that, and he's got a great arm on him. So he's done a really good job this year. He's stepped up. I'm continually challenging him and pressuring him to get better each week, and he's meeting those expectations. So extremely proud of him. Um, and then my running back Owen Meadows. Now, in my opinion, he's probably my most improved player this year from last season.
Right, right.
Last season, uh, he didn't he didn't start for us. Didn't really get a whole lot of playing time. He'd back up DBs sometimes. Every now and then we'd send him on a route. But this is his first year ever being like in the backfield, and he stepped up. He's grown up a whole lot this year, and I'm extremely proud of him. Um, so he's grown up a whole lot. And then Jess Nelson, who plays wingback for me, he's also my kicker. So we'll get into that in a second. But
Okay.
um, he's done an outstanding job this year too, defensively and offensively. Very reliable player, very smart, very a lot of football knowledge there. So we can rely on him heavily. And then as far as his kicking game goes, he's done extremely well. He's extra point wise. He's only missed a few, and other than that, we can pretty much count on him to be automatic. He doesn't get flustered with people rushing in on him. He just keeps his head down and kicks the ball. So I'm extremely proud of what he's done for us.
Just in case y'all think we're overhyping this kicker, if I can get my computer to work with me, well, we'll get it working. Let me move to the next question. I'll come back and talk about him. I want to look forward just a little bit, and obviously I know you know coaches want to work week to week. You want to focus, but I do want to look ahead just a little bit into the postseason. That first round of the playoffs, obviously the championship going to be a neutral site. That first round of the playoffs, how huge would it be to be able to get that first round game in front of that Cornerstone crowd and have that crowd on your side?
Oh, that'd be awesome. I mean, that's the goal. That's what we're shooting for, especially coming this Friday. I mean, that's gonna tell us where we're gonna go. So I'm really hoping that we can pull that off. I think that would be one great confidence builder for us, just to be able to play at home and have your home crowd. You know, everybody there supporting you. I think that's a huge deal for us.
Looking forward, and now I've got these stats pulled up. Just to let y'all know, 24 of 28 on extra points. So he's missed 4, which is just insane numbers. The fact that y'all are able to kick extra points too, that speaks to your hogs holding the boys out as well. Love it. I love it. Um, Going into this season, did you guys look at the other teams in your conference at all in terms of kind of looking at um, where everybody else? Obviously, you want to worry about yourself and get yourself ready to go. But did you guys look around at all and say, you know what, we really have a shot this year?
Yes, we that was kind of one of my opening things. You know, once I got my roster established, figure out who was gonna be going with me on this journey this year. We look everybody like you said earlier. Everybody had pretty big losses as far as losing seniors last year in our conference. So, instead of running with the narrative of this team's supposed to win, this team's supposed to do this, I looked at these guys and said, you got to throw that out the window. This year is anybody's year, and we just got to do our jobs and play hard and see where we fall.
Now, after this game on Friday, next Friday, you guys have your. I'm assuming senior night. This would be next Friday, last game of the year,
Yes.
last home game of the year. You guys
Right.
are have Southern Prep coming in. Traditionally, a pretty good team coming from the AISA. Their last or next to the last game of the season, I believe. Um, but it almost seems like that could be looked at as, how do I put it, almost a trap game because depending on what happens Friday night, if you guys win, you're riding high. If you lose, it's like, okay, we have to get refocused. But how big would it be, or how important is it with that game next Friday to come away with a win in that game? And obviously, it's next week. I don't want you to, I don't want to get you to looking ahead too much. But in terms of keeping your guys focused, what are some of the biggest things, regardless of what happens this Friday, that you're going to have to do with your guys?
So yeah, like I say, we got to do our jobs, and a win there is great. But again, that was another game that we scheduled just to kind of help build our experience. And I believe we could pull it off, but we're definitely going to have to play hard. But that's more of an experience builder for us. And if we win, which I really hope we do, that's great. But my big thing is let's just come out of it healthy and ready for playoffs. But yeah,
I'm looking at our chat, and I don't know if you're familiar with Coach Tim Bolden. He's with the KC East Lions. He says he's originally from Rainsville, and would love to get a chance to meet up with you. I want to ask you, for those folks that aren't familiar that much with Cornerstone or yourself as a coach, give us a little bit of background. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and let's get familiar with you.
all right. Well, I'm actually from Fort Payne, Alabama, which is it's the next city over from Rainsville. That's where I
Right.
attended high school and
Right.
played football there. Um, but yeah, so I've been at Cornerstone on the coaching staff. This is my fourth year. I was the defensive coordinator the past 3 years prior. So this year I had to take a switch, and I'm actually calling the offense as well as being the head coach. So I had to completely flip the script and go to the other side of the ball, which has been I'm thankful for it because it's helped me. I feel like grasp the game better. Um, but yeah, Rainsville's a very small town. Cornerstone's very small school. Uh, Roughly a little over 400 students total.
Yeah.
That's from kindergarten to high school. So very small school, but a lot of spirit there, a lot of support from them. It's a very good community, and I'm very, very thankful for the opportunity to be able to coach for this school.
Last question for you. The crowd. I've mentioned being able to play in front of your home crowd as well, and you look at your season, and for the most part, pretty successful season, I would say, at home. Um, but I want to give you a chance to talk about the support a little bit with the small school. I want to give you a chance to support to hype up your crowd and your school and your parents, and talk a little bit about how successful or how important they are to you guys' success, no matter what happens with the rest of the season.
Right. Um, yeah, I'm extremely happy with our fan base. They're always there cheering us on. Every big play, every touchdown, every score. It's always encouraging to hear them cheering for us, and when things don't go our way, they're still cheering and encouraging us, and just they really do a good job of supporting us and making us want to do better out there on that field. So we're extremely thankful for them.
I have to apologize. I didn't tell the truth. I have one more question for you. You're
All right.
talking about building your program and wanting to play a little bit better competition. So I'm going to throw the question out to you. If you're putting your schedule together for next year, I'm going to give you a chance to call your shot. Is there somebody that you want to play next year?
Um, Not other than what we've. I mean, I would play Freedom and Lighthouse again in Southern Prep if they're up for it. We plan to play those teams again.
Right, right.
So I don't really have anybody outside of those three at the moment.
I got you. I got you. Well, I was just curious. Coach, I appreciate you joining me, and man, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys on Friday night. Hopefully that game goes great. Hopefully it's close. Got a good competition. Hopefully you guys win. If not, let's make it close. Let's go into the postseason with a little momentum. I appreciate you joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Thank you. That's Coach Jared Adams from Cornerstone Christian Academy, Rainsville, and Eagles with a huge opportunity coming up Friday night against the unbeaten Jacksonville Christian Academy Thunder. All right, as promised, I told you I would talk about. Coach Bolden also went to school at Fort Payne. I wonder if they went to school at the same time. Huh, that's interesting. I told you I would talk. You know what? Live on the air. Live on the air. I'm gonna look this up real quick. I want to see how far back Fort Payne goes. Just bear with me. All right, it goes back to 2004. Let's just see. Oh, they didn't put a roster on Max Preps. Oh, that's rough. Let's see if they put one for 2005. No, nothing. Well, that's unfortunate. All right. I told you I'd talk about the last game Friday night. And this was a big one. This is one that everyone had circled when they found out about it and as the season went on. I mean, this was the game. This was the most hyped interstate matchup, specifically Tennessee Alabama, since Grace Baptist went on the road to Evangel 2 years ago when both of them were on a tear. This was the most hyped up game, and it was happening in Tennessee. So that was a little different. Usually the game happens in Bama, down at Evangel. Everyone's like, oh, we're going to go to Evangel. Usually that's the way it goes. But, oh, wait a minute. We have an update. Coach was still listening. He said he graduated in 2012. Okay, hold on. Let's just see. I don't know. Hang on. So he played in 11. Let's see. I don't know where Coach Bolden would be. Coach, if you're still listening, go ahead and throw that graduation year in there. Okay. Let's see. Oh, they only put looks like a limited roster on there for 2011. Oh man. All right. We're going to keep going. So, Evangel Christian, Franklin Christian. I was just gonna go to the game and watch the game. I had no intentions of jumping in and I was just gonna go be a spectator. Evangel reached out and obviously always love interacting with those guys and I hadn't broadcast in a couple months. It's a little rusty, and they asked me for me to jump on the broadcast. Asked me if I would jump on, and obviously a huge honor, and so I did and had a lot of fun with them. Always a blast, and I really appreciate it. But I want to talk about the game. And man, these are two offenses and two defenses that just are absolutely insane. So good. FCA after the opening kickoff, and I'm going to break this game down because this was number one versus number two. Speaking of number one versus number two, I do have the updated NHSA rankings, so we'll talk about them after I talk about this game. But FCA comes out, first play of the game, touchdown. Put 6 up on the board. Doesn't get the 2-point conversion. Back and forth a little bit. Evangel comes down. They score a touchdown. Get the 2-point conversion. That's how we end the first quarter, 8-6. Second quarter, FCA puts a touchdown on the board, gets a 2-point conversion. And that's how we go to halftime, 14-6. Well, third quarter, Evangel just takes off. Puts up 2 touchdowns, and then puts up a touchdown in the beginning of the fourth quarter. If I'm not mistaken. I believe that's, let me see. Let me see if we've got quick scoring. No, we don't. Okay. Yeah. There's no quick scoring. Okay. Well, fourth quarter, it's 30-14, and I think everybody and their mama pretty much had said, all right, great effort. Great effort. It is what it is, though. And then FCA comes roaring back, puts up 2 touchdowns. Now it's 30-27. Now it's Evangel's ball. Evangel trying to run the clock out, close the game out, handle business. It's 4th and 1 from their 30. They run a QB sneak. get the first down. Game over. FCA had burned timeouts. Oh, that's ball game. But what a game. It was a great. If you got a chance to watch it, you got a treat. You got a huge, huge treat. So, congratulations to Evangel Christian on the win, staying unbeaten, winning 26 in a row. And FCA 11-game win streak snapped. Now, they will go on the road next Thursday, take on Riverside, and then they'll have playoffs. We'll talk about that. I'm just seeing Coach Bolden graduated in 93. Old enough to be his father. That's awesome. That's, oh, man. Oh, that's funny. Anyways, all right. All right. I mentioned these rankings. Let's talk about the rankings. Let me get this off the screen. Very, very delayed getting it on and off the screen. All right. Let's look at these rankings. Where did I put them? There they are. Let me see. There we go. I think I've got them in correct order. Yes. Okay. All right. Let's run through these rankings. Number 1, Evangel Christian. And the audience gasps in disbelief. They are now 9-0 after the win on Friday against FCA. FCA, speaking of the FCA, number 2 at 6-1. Rightfully so. They don't drop at all. Neither one. Now, the only if Evangel had lost, maybe they would go to 2, FCA go to 1. But that's the only movement there was going to be. There's no other movement. Okay? And if you thought there was, you're crazy. Number 3, Lighthouse Homeschool at 7-1. Lighthouse Warriors stay at number 3. Number 4, Christian Community. They are now Evangel's 9-0, FCA 6-1, Lighthouse 8-1. Christian Community at number 4. They are 6-1. Pack Panthers number 5, now at 8-1 on the season. Jacksonville Christian at number 6. They are now 8-0 on their season. Fort Wayne King Crusaders on Max Preps. It's going to say Tri-State Crusaders if you're looking for them. That's just how they're inputted into Max Preps. They are at number 7. Stay at number 7 at 5-1. Sorry, 6-1. They had a game get updated that had not been updated, and so they had won 2 in a row. So they moved from 4-1 to 6-1. So they're number 7. Tennessee Heat at number 8 at 5-3 after their win Friday night against Zion Christian. Number 9, Cornerstone Christian Columbiana. They stay at number 9 at 7-0 after their win against Trinity Christian Homeschool. And then rounding out the top 10 is Springwood at 5-2 with the win over Windsor Academy. And so they stay in place. Ezekiel Academy stays at number 11 at 5-2 with a win over East Central Friday night. Grace Academy, they actually go up to 12 with their win over Innovation. So they are now 6-2. South Haven Christian is at number 13. Going up after the loss to Christian Community. So they are now 5-3. East Central is at number 14. Coming up from number 16, having lost to Ezekiel, who was number 11. John Paul the Great out of Louisiana. They're at number 15 at 5-1. Picking up a win, I believe. So, yeah, at number 15. Freedom Cowboys, biggest movement here on the rankings, drop to number 16 with the loss to Lighthouse Warriors. So they dropped from 12 to 16 now with a 3-4 record on their season. Augusta Eagles are at number 17 with a loss to the Pack Panthers, who are number 5. Augusta Eagles previously at number 17, so they stay put at 5-1. I'm sorry, 5-1 or 6-1. I think it's 6-1. I think Augusta's 6-1. Speaking of Cornerstone Christian Rainsville, they are number 18. They stay at number 18 after their win on, they were on a bye, so they did not have a win. Lancaster Christian out of Smyrna, they were on a bye this past week as well, and they stay at number 19 at 3-4. Acadiana Christian at number 20 with a 7-1 record. A couple games got updated for them, so they go from 5-1 to 7-1. Stay at number 20. So Russell Christian out of Meridian, Mississippi, at number 21. Previously 3-3. They have dropped to number 23. So Russell Christian is now 23, dropping from 21. Number 21 is Southern Prep at 4-4, moving up from one of their games got updated. So 4-4, sitting at number 21. Tri-Cities Christian sitting at number 22 with a 5-3 record. Big win for them. Couple games got updated there. Russell Christian, talked about them being at 23. Franklin Classical at number 24 at 3-4. They dropped down from number 23. And then rounding out your top 25, Evangel Christian Montgomery at 2-3. And they moved up from 26. So that's your top 25 there. In terms of Florida, if I'm looking at this, I think the only team, I think the Pack Panthers championship game is the same weekend, which I just made the case earlier. Like, come on, what are we doing? Let's send Pack to Florida. Let's give the SIFA a chance to have a little national attention. Let's do it. All right. I believe Cornerstone Christian Columbiana, I think the AISA, their championship is the weekend after Florida, so the playoff game would be that weekend. So really, if you wanted to do 2 4-team divisions, it could be Evangel Christian, if you can get Franklin Christian to go. If you can get the Pack Panthers to go, and if you can get Jacksonville Christian. I mean, as it sits right now, that's 9-0, 6-1, 8-1, and 8-0 teams. It's pretty good. Fort Wayne King Crusaders at 6-1. They would be a good option to jump in there. Let's see, Christian Community at 6-1. They are number 4. They could jump in. There's some good teams right there, and then your I want to say your bottom 4, your Division 2, if you wanted to have two 4-team divisions. Your other 4 teams could be Tennessee Heat, maybe at 5-3, Ezekiel at 5-2, or actually Lighthouse at 8-1. Depending on how the championship game goes, you could put Lighthouse in that Division 1. That would be interesting. Depending how that goes with them and Evangel Christian. Because Lighthouse had them on the ropes in the first half. Evangel able to come back in the second half. Who knows? It'll be interesting to see what happens with Florida. We're coming up. We're a month away from the NHSA National Championship Tournament, which the first round of games will get played on November 11th, Veterans Day. So we're just over a month away from that. And here at the end of the month, most of these conferences will be starting playoffs. So I think starting next week, we'll start doing a little bit of playoff breakdown, talking a little bit about the postseason with each conference, how it's looking in terms of seeding. We'll see. We might get around to that. All right. Let's talk about the games coming up this weekend. Let's see. We'll start in Alabama because I know we didn't start in Alabama last time. Let's start in Alabama this time. Let's go to the AISA. Springwood School taking on another Georgia school, Stewart County. this time. Stewart County coming in 1-2. Springwood at 6-2. Conference matchup between North River Christian and Evangel Christian. Chargers coming in at 3-4. Lions at 2-4. So a big conference matchup there. Meadowview Christian and Cornerstone Christian, completely different sides of the mirror. Meadowview 0-7, Cornerstone 7-0. And then an interconference matchup, big rivalry matchup. Southern Prep at Ezekiel Academy. Southern Prep 4-4, Ezekiel 5-2. So that one will be interesting. Let's jump over to the CFA. Big rivalry game, Tabernacle Tuscaloosa. That one's always fun. Tabernacle coming in 2-4, Tuscaloosa 5-3. Victory Christians on the road against their other Mississippi, the other Mississippi team in their conference, Russell Christian. Victory coming in at 2-3, Russell at 3-4. And then the game we just talked about with Coach Adams. Cornerstone Christian on the road at Jacksonville Christian. Eagles at 4-3. Thunder at 7-0. So that's a big one. You know, something else to note with that. Let me back this up. Make sure I got it right. Even though Jacksonville Christian is 7-0 and Cornerstone is 4-3 overall, conference play, Thunder are 5-0, Cornerstone is 4-1. So a win for Cornerstone. Now they're both 5-1, and Cornerstone holds the tiebreaker. So that would be massive for them. If not, Jacksonville Christian will be the number 1 seed. They'll host the number 4 seed, depending on how it all plays out between Russell Christian, Tuscaloosa, and Cornerstone. But we'll break that down a little bit further next week in terms of how the playoff seeding is going to go. Jump to the ACSC. And next Friday night, mentioned Southern Prep and Ezekiel. Southern Christian on the road to take on Evangel Christian. Southern Christian 2-3, Evangel 9-0. And then the big rivalry game, East Central and Lighthouse. This is a knockdown, drag-out matchup. Knockdown, drag-out. Knockdown, drag-out matchup every time. East Central 4-2, Lighthouse 8-1. Little proximity with those two teams too, so big game there. Let's jump to South Carolina. Talk about the SIFA. Harvest Christian on the road at the Augusta Eagles. Both teams looking to bounce back with a win. Harvest coming in at 2-5. Augusta at 6-1. Victory Christian, they are hosting Tri-Cities Christian from Bluntville, Tennessee, out of the SEEC. Tri-Cities comes in at 5-3. Victory Christian at 3-4. So very interesting matchup there. The third SIFA matchup for Tri-Cities Christian so far, 1-1. Win over Orangeburg and a loss to the Pack Panthers. Let's jump over to Louisiana. On Thursday night, John Paul the Great Academy. They're at Mount Olive Christian. John Paul the Great, as far as we know, 5-1. Mount Olive Christian at 2-5. First Baptist Christian 0-8. They are on the road at Acadiana Christian at 7-1, and that conference is very interesting too. The ACEL out of Louisiana. Now Acadiana and John Paul did play first game of the year, and John Paul got the win 56-12, but since then they haven't met. And so it'll be very interesting to see. Let's see, I think Acadiana is 7-1 in conference play. John Paul the Great is 5-1. I think they're missing some scores as well. They could both be 7-1, so that would be very interesting in Louisiana. And on Saturday, North Shore Vultures are on the road at Southwest Louisiana Homeschool, SWLA. Vultures 4-4. and the Knights coming in at 4-3. Let's go to North Carolina. Back over a little bit. On Monday, Rocky Mount Academy, they are taking on Liberty Christian. Rocky Mount 5-2. Liberty Christian comes in at 0-4. On Friday night, got a whole slew of games for you. St. David's at 3-2, coming into Liberty Christian 0-4. Pungo Christian on the road at Halifax. Pungo at 4-2. Halifax unbeaten at 5-0. Lawrence Academy 4-2 on the road at Community Christian, who is 4-3. So 4-2 and 4-3, big matchup there. Northeast Academy is at Bethel Christian. Bethel Christian missing some scores. They're 0-2 for the scores that have been reported. Northeast 3-4. Father Capodanno, they are at Berean Baptist, and Father Capodanno comes in 2-5. Berean 2-3. Cary Christian on the road at Rocky Mount Academy. Cary Christian at 3-4. Rocky Mount at 5-2, and then Hargrave Military Academy. I believe this is an 11-man game. They are 2-4, taking on JP2, John Paul II High School. And then Lee Christian and Hobgood Charter are playing each other on Friday. Lee Christian at 0-5, Hobgood Charter at 5-2. Sorry, I had to get a little drink there. Let's jump over to the Heartland Conference. Thursday night, Life Christian. They are at Claremore Christian. Life at 1-5. Claremore at 1-4. Friday night, Unity Christian 3-0 are supposed to be on the road in Little Rock. I believe it's Bryant to take on Arkansas Christian, who is 0-6. Trinity Christian 1-6. It says they are taking on Riverdale Academy. If I'm not mistaken, I think Riverdale is Louisiana. Now I'm curious. Texarkana to Riverdale Academy. It's only an hour and 45 minutes. Okay, well, all right, well, fair enough. Fair is fair. Fair is fair. All right, so not a big trip for them. Crossover Prep is at Southwest Christian on Friday night. Crossover Prep 3-2. Southwest Christian at 2-5. So those are the games happening in the Heartland Conference. Jump over to the Kansas Christian Athletic Association, and all their games being played on Friday night. Only two, Wichita Warriors coming in at 5-0, taking on Sunrise Christian at 5-1. This is a big matchup. Big matchup. Life Prep 1-4. They are on the road taking on KC East, who is at 3-4. So matchup there in Missouri. Jumping over to Virginia on Thursday. Brunswick Academy 8-0. They are on the road taking on Kinston Forest at 5-1. Kinston Forest, I mentioned earlier in the show, formerly unbeaten, so this one will be interesting. Southampton Academy 3-3 at Fuqua, who is at 1-5. On Friday, Rappahannock County 3-4. They are at Covenant 4-3, so could get 500 game at the end of the both teams could be at 500 at the end of the night, or Covenant could pull ahead at 5-3. Rappahannock would drop to 3-5. Virginia Episcopal School at 4-0. They are at Chincoteague at 3-3. Richmond Christian 3-4 at Blessed Sacrament 2-3. So Richmond Christian looking to get back to 500. And then on Saturday, Greenbrier Christian Academy 1-4 at Massanutten Military Academy at 1-6. And then Quantico at 0-6 on the road at Christ Church School, who is 4-0. All right, let's go to the Northern 8 up in Ohio. And on Friday night, McKinley 1-4. They are on the road to take on Toledo Christian at 5-2. And then on Saturday, Chalker. Let's see where they're from, because I'm kind of curious now. They're out of Ohio. I don't know if this is an 8 or 11-man game. Doesn't say. But Holgate taking on Chalker, Morenci taking on St. Mary Central Catholic, and Stryker 1-6 taking on Danbury 1-5. So big game there in the Northern 8 Conference. Let's go to Georgia. Hearts Academy 0-6 at Fidelis Christian 1-6. Community Christian 0-6 at Community Christian 1-5. Okay. So this is Community Christian out of Martinez, Georgia, and then Community Christian out of Stockbridge, Georgia. So there you go. I've heard of the. Well, no, you have the teams named the same. The one out of Stockbridge are the Knights, and the one out of Martinez are the Ambassadors. So Ambassadors and Knights, and that is actually. Yep, that game is Friday night. So the Ambassadors 0-6, Knights 1-5. Young Americans Christian 5-2 on the road against Lafayette Christian 5-1. Holy Ground Baptist 4-1 at People's Baptist 1-3. Horizon Christian 3-3 at Johnson's Ferry Christian, who is also 3-3. So that one will be a big matchup. Praise Academy 6-0 on the season. I don't think I mentioned that earlier. Praise Academy on an absolute tear of their season. Only a couple games left for them. So Praise Academy 6-0 at Victory Baptist 2-3 in the Vidalia Heritage at 3-2 at New Creation Christian. Let's jump to. Let's see. See where we have another one. Let's go to Tennessee. Let's go to the TSIAA. Franklin Christian Academy at 6-1, coming off that loss to Evangel. You know they're going to be hot, and they are going down to Fayetteville to take on Riverside Christian, who is 1-4. That game being played on Thursday. On Friday, it's Lancaster Christian 3-4 at Grace Baptist 6-2. And so that will solidify the playoff situation there. Of course, they have 3 rounds of the playoffs, so playoffs will start not this Friday, but next Friday for the TSIAA. 6 teams, 6 playoff spots. Everyone gets in. It's just a matter of seeding. In the SEC, I mentioned Tri-Cities Christian on the road to Victory Christian, and then Sacred Heart at 1-3. They are at the Freedom Cowboys 3-4. And if the Cowboys win, they beat Zion, so they go to number 1 seed in the South. Sacred Heart and Zion will play not this Friday, but next Friday the 20th to decide the number 2 seed. If Sacred Heart pulls off the upset, well, at that point now Sacred Heart's 1-0, Freedom's 1-1, Zion is 0-1. So Sacred Heart could grab the number 1 seed in the South. That would definitely be interesting. Talk about the GIAA real quick. On Friday night, Holy Spirit Prep is at Notre Dame Academy. Holy Spirit Prep 5-1, Notre Dame Academy 2-4. Westminster Schools of Augusta 6-1. They are at Dominion Christian 1-5. Westminster Schools of Augusta just on a tear this season. John Hancock Academy 5-2 at Westwood 2-3. Baker County 3-2 at Crisp Academy 3-4. And then Windsor Academy 4-2 at David Emanuel Academy at 5-1. So Windsor Academy looking to get the win after the loss to Springwood School. Let me make sure I got all of them. This past Friday, Mississippi Phoenix Sports Academy lost to Kemper Academy out of the MAIS, and they are off this week. And let's see. Make sure we got all of them. I think that is it. I do believe so. So, a couple big games coming up this weekend. And we'll see what happens with them. Mentioned that Cornerstone Jacksonville. That's going to be a big one. That is a massive game. So, we'll see how that one plays out. But that just about does it for Extreme Talk, presented by Complete Real Estate, where experience and integrity matters. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to Coach Jared Adams for jumping on the show today. Y'all go catch a game this weekend. We'll see you. Update Max Preps. Get those scores in. Let's go. See ya!